So Michael Diaz, I look after our service provider program for ANZ. So that means I work with our more strategic partners around our service provider offerings, so cloud, managed services and hosting, and also look after the strategy for Veeam from the ANZ region around our cloud sort of business. So we don't have our own cloud, but we rely on our partners like OneNet to deliver those types of services, so which is great. Just want to start as well to say congratulations to OneNet on just winning the Veeam New Zealand Service Provider of the Year. So it's a big compliment to these guys. They're doing a great job in the market with reputation, as well as hitting all the training certifications that they need to be at that status. So really great work. So what I'm going to take you through today is just a little bit about Veeam in the cloud, where we fit and where our strategy is going. A couple of products that relate into that around our Cloud Connect, Backup and DR as a service offering. So I assume most of you have heard about that today. Great. Also some other cool features, and just I'll let you know what the actual availability assessment service is. So as I said, Veeam doesn't have our own cloud, and we never plan to. We want to help our partners build their services. We also want to help customers have a hybrid cloud approach. So we want to help them go from on-prem to a cloud, cloud to cloud. So that's the direction we're going. But if you look at it all, cloud is everywhere. You just can't escape it. I was actually in Christchurch the other day and tried to get a taxi to only realise the way I normally get a taxi is actually by going onto Uber to look for a taxi, see how close one is, and then actually get from A to B that way, only to realise I actually had to dial someone to get there. So I was so reliant on just using my mobile phone to get from A to B, I didn't even think that Christchurch didn't actually have Uber. But it just shows the development in sort of certain regions where you're so reliant on cloud, whether it's an application on your phone or workloads somewhere in the cloud, it's everywhere, you just can't escape it. And it's changing the way we do things from my usual Friday nights when I had a girlfriend, 18, 19 years old, going down to Blockbuster. That no longer happens. We just go onto Netflix, and it turns out we've watched everything anyway, so we have to go out for dinner. So it's everywhere, it's changing the way we live, but whether it's your personal life, your career life, you just can't escape it. And it's changing the way we operate as a business, so it doesn't matter where you look, there's statistics to prove cloud is here. Businesses are becoming more reliant on it. The three stats on the side I find very particularly important because it says IDC is predicting that service providers will account for 43% of total service shipments. If you looked at that probably 10 years ago, it would have been completely the other way around. So what it means is that customers, end users, instead of buying servers themselves, they're going to service providers to get that as a service. So hardware is going down from customers, but it's going back to the service providers to deliver that service back to them. And 70% of organisations will be doing disaster recovery as a service by 2020. It's a big statistic, and I'll go into why that's actually happening more and more. And 70% of CIOs will embrace a cloud-first strategy. So they hear the words AWS, Azure, and all this sort of thing. They go, yep, that's what we're going to do first, and they realise it may or may not be the right fit for them. But then they go to another provider to understand what are their capabilities and such. So it's here, it's coming, embrace it. So what are the business needs driving backup and disaster recovery as a service in the cloud? So this is from a research paper from Forrester. So these are the sort of things that yourselves as an IT provider or yourselves as an end user need to be asking yourself, are these the things that I need as a business that I can't do in-house, that you can actually get from a provider? They're all really interesting because what you'll find is that Veeam as a software solution enables these factors. So you want to be able to recover faster. You want to reduce your overall costs. I don't think I've ever met a CFO that says, I like spending money. You want to make sure that your disaster recovery is tested and it's easy, it works. For those of you who are customers or partners here, how often, I guess the question to ask yourself, when was the last time you did a disaster recovery test? When did it work? Did it work, but not everything went down to to meet the business objectives from an RTO or an RPO? Those are the questions you need to be asking internally. So late last year, we'd met with a particular tourism customer, and that customer was looking at disaster recovery as a service, but they actually first did what they had to do in-house, which was their own DR test, which they hadn't done in 2 years. So their whole IT team, which is a team of 4, planned their whole weekend on a Saturday morning in 2 months' time to actually go down to their co-location data centre, plan for this test, get there at 7 a.m, got to 5 p.m. to only realise actually we couldn't actually do our DR test. It wouldn't work. So they were just installing Veeam at the time, but they were trying to play with a legacy solution in Veeam at the time. But after deploying that and working with a provider to then enable that, they could see the benefit of working with a provider to actually to deliver that back service to them. So it's just really understanding what you can do in-house versus out-of-house. Then pay-as-you-go model. Going back to the CFO, does he like spending money, or would he rather that money trickle out month by month based on a pay-as-you-go model? And just the ability to be more flexible around your contracts and everything else. So being able to choose from one provider to the next. So these things are really fueling backup and disaster recovery as a service in the market. We see it, our partners are growing, and we're seeing customers go to them for services such as Cloud Connect. So why the change? So I've sort of hit that. So you go from sort of complexity to simplicity, I guess. To build your own data center, so to go find a secondary site, to find the room that's going to be your actual server room, comms room, whatever you're going to stick in as that secondary site. To build that room is quite expensive because you've got to, if you want it to be the quality of a Tier 3 data center plus, you've got to put fire rating, you've got to put raised floor, you've got to worry about mechanical engineering, electrical, you've got to get it all certified, you've got to put air conditioning, you've got to have redundant UPSs, so you have redundant generators. Then you also got to worry about fuel to that generator. Your SLA on that fuel for that generator compared to the colo down the road, who do you think is going to get the fuel first when there's only so much fuel available for so many X amount of days? These are the things that you need to consider that are quite complex, whereas if you give it to a service provider, they've generally got these SLAs, but not for just yourself, but across multiple customers, because they do it day in, day out. And the whole vendor lock-in around the complexity of upfront versus simplicity is going that pay-as-you-go approach. So, and I like the fact of shared risk as well, just for the fact that you're sharing the risk along with your provider. They're giving you an SLA. The other question asked in-house is, well, can I give an SLA on my IT manager and his team? So that's where we came with Cloud Connect. So we released Cloud Connect back in sort of late last year. So it's doing very well in the market as a backup as a service product. And so what it is it's really a cloud gateway that sits with the provider and yourself that enables you to get your backups offsite into the cloud much easier, be able to access your backups from the cloud easy, and now with disaster recovery. So what it means from a service provider, it means that they can offer you this service a lot easier with a lot more flexibility, but also be able to deliver you the outcomes that you're after as a customer. So tried and tested in the market, and partners like OneNet are helping it scale, which is great. So as I said, to do that traditionally from backup DR in the cloud before, it was very tricky. For an IT guy to, as I said, go build a secondary data center, manage that, or go to a colo. When you're going to a colo, you've got to, I guess, commit to X amount of kilowatts per hour, amount of kilowatts that you're going to commit to. You need to commit to 3 racks, but if you're going to get 3 racks, do you need 3 racks in 5 years' time, 10 years' time? You might only need 2 RU, who knows what servers are going to be out. These are the things that can be tricky and need to be considered. Also running VPNs to those data centers or to your secondary sites, they're quite complex, they can go down. There's a lot of operational back end that has to go to manage that. And also just going back to that point, if you're a small to medium business and you've got limited IT staff, is he trained in disaster recovery? Is he more of a networking guy? Is he a security guy? Is he more of a desktop admin guy? These are the factors that you need to be considering. So from a data center, also a tape strategy as well. Where does that fit in the whole long-term backup component? Perhaps you can stick that in the cloud, or perhaps you continue to do that to yourself, but then you've got to look at tape management. What happens when those tapes become out of date and there's no longer, I guess, tools to actually recover that? All these sort of things, but tape still does deliver a very good cost model long term. So, and then there's cloud. So, I love this picture coming up now. Who's in this room is this? I guarantee everyone's seen a broom closet, a data center, very much like this spaghetti. In the case of a disaster, and if your room's like that and your IT guy hasn't documented which cable goes where, and there's a high chance he hasn't documented what cable goes where, or hasn't labelled it, it's not a problem that you have. So generally a guy like this that's running this type of environment, I'm pretty sure he says to his wife or husband, whichever way it is, God, I hope nothing goes wrong today. So if not, it's going to be a very late night for him. So cable management's a very key part of anyone's environment. So just going back to Cloud Connect and backup, does anyone heard of the 3-2-1 rule? Yep, a couple people. So whether you're a consultant or a customer, I'd suggest you go to your customers today or your people you're going to meet over the next few weeks or internally and going, are we following the 3-2-1 rule? So do I have 3 copies of data on 2 separate medias, and is 1 copy off-site? The big question there is, where is that off-site copy? If it's in the cloud, you're doing well. If it is in a secondary site, you're doing well. The other question is, but is that secondary site in the building next door? Is it on the floor below? Is it maybe in a vicinity of a kilometre apart? So if you read a few research papers, they often recommend a radius of risk. It's generally about 10 miles by US standards. You should be following that principle, because if something goes wrong in this part of Auckland and it's only a few kilometres away, what happens if you can't get to that site? What happens if there's God forbid, a flooding? Who knows what could happen? If you look at the things that happened in the US with Hurricane Katrina and such, people can get from one side of the city to the other, the very large city. So you need to sort of consider that as part of your business continuity planning, where that site is. Those are the sort of thoughts process that you need to work with and talk to your consultants and your providers around that. What's the best practice around that? Just speaking of that, another consideration is talking to a sort of a financial customer. This is probably over a year ago. They did follow that sort of the backups were on a separate floor. What they didn't expect, that nothing actually happened on their floor, but what they didn't expect was that the tenants about 4 floors above, they had a burst water main, which flooded all the floors down below. So they had to have a business continuity plan to sort that out. And so they had business continuity seating, which helped for 20 people of the large team. The rest had to go home, but they couldn't actually access their backups that they kept on-prem. So these are the things that no one considers what's going to happen on other floors while you're doing everything you can to protect your own tenancy. So this is where we came up with Cloud Connect. So it's just an easy way for a partner like OneNet to deliver you fast and easy secure backups off-site. You can access it from your Veeam console. It can be encrypted. And the best part is it's multi-tenanted, so your data can't be seen by another customer, which is great. And these guys make sure that happens and it stays secure. And the best part is it's all secured on the Veeam, it's all visible on the Veeam console. And to follow best practice, so we do always recommend that 1 copy, there is a local copy, just in case something happens to the internet. Even if you've got redundant links, you can quickly recover off that local copy, but at least getting the rest off-site into the cloud through Cloud Connect. So as I said, it's with Cloud Connect, we make it easy for you to access, and hopefully everyone can see that. Access your backups and now DR directly from the Veeam console. So you can do everything you want for what's in the cloud directly from your Veeam console if you're a Veeam user or for your customers. We make it really easy to utilize your tool that you're mainly going to interact with. You don't want to have to leave this and go to multiple other tools just so that you can access your backups. We just make it simple and easy to use. In the event of a disaster, you want to be able to quickly find where your backups are or your DR is, because that's generally when people panic and don't know what to do. Make it simple and easy. Okay, and then there was version 9, Cloud Connect for replication. So essentially disaster recovery as a service. Taking all those pain points away that I mentioned before, just around being able to do disaster recovery, being able to make sure that your DR test is going to work. This is where this product's really come from. All on a trusted product that's been out in the market for some time with Cloud Connect for backup. So this was released last month. It's really to help this guy. Who in the room, I guess, or knows of someone that is like this? In the event of disaster, do they panic? Do they know what's going to happen next? Do they have a business continuity plan? Do they know what workloads are going to fail over and stand up when? This is what this has really stemmed from. So thank you, Dilbert. So taking that same approach, keeping, for those of you who have used Veeam before, Veeam's often seen as a very simple product to implement, simple product to manage. So keeping that same principle with our Cloud Connect product is key because, as I said, in the event of a disaster, you want to make the process easy for your IT person that's going to manage this, to know what buttons to click or how to consume the service. So I'll take you through the steps, how easy it is from a customer perspective to actually sign up to DR. So what happens is apologies if you can't see it in the room, but directly from the Veeam console as a customer, you can go find or add a service provider. So what that means is you can find one, which takes you to a URL, which is veeam.com, and find a service provider, which takes you to a directory. And on that, you can choose the service that you're after. And on there, you'll see actually OneNet as part of being one of our top partners is actually at the top of that list. That will take you to their URL, and they'll tell you how to consume the service. Once you've spoken to them, just going back a step, you go add. And they give you a bunch of details. In this case, it's the DNS name and the port number. So this is to say this is going to be you as our tenant. So step one's pretty easy. Then they'll provide you with credentials, which you'll insert. And also a certificate. Also, you can BYO that as well. As a tenant, they'll assign you resources, which is great because they start to define you as a customer. This is what you need for storage. And then that way you can start consuming backup as a service. So offsite storage. So there's 3 steps in order to get your backups into, say, a OneNet cloud. Really easy. Retrieving it's just as easy as well. Then we get into disaster recovery. So this is where it gets really cool because we've really simplified the process of going, I want to work with, say, a OneNet. I want to do disaster recovery as a service. I want to know I've got this much CPU, RAM, and storage assigned to me as a customer. So in the event of a disaster, I know I can stand up very easily and quickly. We make that process for them to deliver that to you very easy and for you to access that easily. And what we do that is by assigning a hardware plan. So now that they've signed you up, they've given you your hardware plan. On your Veeam console, you'll see what's assigned to you as a tenant, which is great. So that's 5 steps, or sort of 6 steps really, that shows how simple it is. And it also takes care of your networking and your re-IPing. So all that frustration, the guy with the cabling trying to work out what's going where and how will this IP address appear over here, and all those things that can generally go very, very wrong. Also because we removed the VPN needs, all taken care of thanks to Veeam and a partner like OneNet. So now something's happened where I want to do a DR test. This is why it's also cool, is that the fact that you can fail over, do your DR tests, all from the Veeam console very, very easily through the click of a button, which is great. Just keeping things simple. As I said, people in the time of panic generally don't know. It's just really around making that process as easy and seamless as possible. What's really cool, if I don't have access to my laptop, I'm not in the office, it's Friday night, I'm at dinner or I'm at the pub with some friends, I can still get access to this through a nice, easy portal on your phone, on your iPad. Actually, if I did have my laptop with me at dinner, I'd be in trouble for that. But the fact is you can get there anywhere. So I'll just take you through some of the other cool features Veeam's brought out. So is anyone running Veeam version 8? There's quite a few people. So you know about the Veeam Explorer tools? Yep. So awesome features. It's just, you saw the simplicity of Veeam Cloud Connect from a backup and DR perspective, like that sort of very seamless approach to as minimal clicks you need to do to recover. Same thing with the Explorer tool. So through your Veeam console, you can actually do it, for example, through the Explorer tool, a one-click restore to recover an email. So it's generally the very senior C-level person that's accidentally deleted everything or deleted that very important email. He's generally the one that may have deleted it.
Still stuck, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, so he's the one that may have most likely deleted it. He's screaming at you, I want to recover this very important email. It's roughly this date. So the Veeam Explorer tool for Exchange will allow you to do that through a one-click restore. Perhaps OneNet's given you some self-service access so that your IT guy that generally doesn't do much with Veeam allows you to actually do it themselves. So these are really cool features that really simplify your business to recover as quickly as possible. So it's available in Exchange, Active Directory. If Active Directory has gone down, no one can communicate to each other. This is also all taken care of by the Explorer tool, SharePoint, SQL Server, but what was announced and released now is around Oracle. So Oracle support, which we didn't have before for the Explorer tool. So is anyone in the room using Oracle today? No? Okay. So it's good to know that you do have now a tool through Veeam that will support the recovery of Oracle.
Those are all free tools that are available to anyone
Yes.
using Veeam. They're very, very easy and quick and easy to use. Exchange, for example, you've got every field within Exchange, so you can just go and do intelligent searches and applied searches and things like that. The Active Directory one's particularly cool. You can do things like one-click compares. So if you have somebody who falls out of an Active Directory group, you can just right-click and compare and say, well, they're no longer in the wireless LAN group or whatever it might be. And you can just do a quick restore with it. And those are the real sort of goes back to that simplicity stuff that Mike was talking about before. It makes it really, really easy to do very granular recoveries and also very easy to do big problem recovery, things with the DR failover and failback as well.
Good. So scale-up backup repository. For those of you who are using Veeam today, but you're trying to, I guess, get the most out of your backup repository, sharing your storage resources. This tool is to enable that to lower your backup repository storage costs. So new with version 9. So it's just all around simplifying the management of multiple repositories, bring them all together so you can share that resource. Great tool that's included in the Veeam software, and it helps you as a customer with multiple storage platforms to really utilize that more effectively. So, and a key point of that, it's all around really lowering that recovery point objective. So going back to a point in time, keeping that as best as possible so that you can in-house deliver the SLAs you need to internally. So per Veeam backup chains. So it's all really around that space consumption, keeping that as efficient as possible. Has anyone used or seen this as yet? Okay. So there's a whole bunch of new features just really around the way your backup jobs work and the way they write to storage. So keeping that as seamless, as efficient as possible to reduce your overall storage requirements.
Particularly useful if you use something like a data domain or a specialized dedupe device, because it means you can string it off in multiple paths to get everything in there much quicker. And it also means that you can, because you're in separate chains, means you can recover very quickly out of those devices as well, because typically things like this, the Veeam recovery that we do, if you've put them onto a data domain or something that's just compressed the hell out of it, there's a hydration penalty for bringing it back, and this mitigates that significantly, so it means you get much quicker restores out of those boxes.
Might start calling you Ron soon. Yeah. Yeah. So Ron was meant to be here today as our RC, but luckily Ross is pretty good with this. And then BitLooker, just around how you write your data to your storage. So this is really just around removing the junk that gets written. So it's just really about being more efficient with the backups that you're putting onto storage. So removing the stuff that doesn't really need to be there. Is there anything you want to add there? Or?
It's really just about compressing the size of your backups and speeding up your backup timeframes and things as well, because it's just getting rid of all that white space and rubbish that just, there's no point backing it up. It's a patent pending, so I think it's due any day sort of thing, sort of apparently for that, but it's quite a unique sort of a capability that we've got that is another sort of point of difference over what the traditional legacy backup guys are doing.
Yep, that's good. Once we get that patent, we'll be very happy.
So is this a new enhancements now to
Yeah,
the V9?
That's come out of V9. So the V9 there was like
250.
250 odd enhancements and changes. So we sort of announced the big stuff around things like integration with EMC snapshots and the BitLooker and Oracle Explorer and the backup repository stuff that we were talking about before. But there's literally hundreds of other little tweaks and tunes that have been done in the back end as well, just to make it all more efficient. And we don't announce all of those because otherwise it turns into 250 slide presentation. Nobody ever wants to give or receive one of those. So,
yep.
But yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in there, a lot of tuning and stuff. And the way that we actually do all of that sort of enhancement is we always encourage our customers to go into the forums and be really active in the forums. If you've got ideas and you can see things that within Veeam that you think would be an improvement, if you get the groundswell behind you in the forums, that's the stuff that we code for. We actually listen to the customers and we don't sort of just set a direction and head off. We actually listen to our customers and go, well, actually, there's dozens of people crying out for a way to get rid of white space in the backups, for example, and then we'll code for that. And those are the features that come to market the quickest. So if you're a Veeam customer, always be active in the forums if you've got the chance. And we do keep a very close eye on those. There's a lot of good value to be had out of what other people do in those forums as well.
Yep. Yeah, it's good for, Veeam's very good for community sharing, which is great. It's because we have a very strong community of partners and customers, all willing to help each other, most of the time. Thought that may have been Ron.
Yeah.
So something we launched sort of late last year, it's called the Veeam Data Availability Assessment. So it's really around our partners, our key partners, going out to potential Veeam customers or to Veeam customers around assessing their data availability, which is great. So OneNet's been very proactive at this around helping customers understand what is really happening under the hood of their virtual environment. So they use Veeam tools to actually go out, do a consulting practice around, these are the VMs causing you a lot of pain. You're going to run out of this much storage in 6 months' time. These are the things you need to start consider as part of that. You've got this much change happening, your network's getting really bottlenecked because of it. What are the things that I need to consider as a business provider or as a consultant to overcome that? So in the event of a disaster, I'm going to be able to stand up as quickly as possible. So it's all really around availability, being as proactive as possible, as opposed to being very reactive. With OneNet, they go out and do that assessment service, help you as a customer or as a partner, ensure that you're going to be available anytime, anywhere. So we actually, where this sort of stemmed from is that as Veeam is a software vendor, we'd go out and meet with customers, and we found we were doing this with our partners anyway, but why not sort of turn it into a program and really sort of, not necessarily certify, but just help customers understand the importance of availability. And that's where this program's come from. So those questions asked at the beginning, what are those business drivers around backup and DR backup and disaster recovery as a service. That's where this all sort of stems from. Really understand what are your RPOs and RTOs. What does the IT guy think it is? What does the CFO think it is? What is it really realistically? Going back to the business from a technical level, from a business operational level, and really assessing what is important, how quickly can we stand up? Can we actually get there? What help do we need?